Today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. Gentlemen, Father's Day is just around the corner, and our friends at Manscaped are here to ensure all the father figures out there are looking daddy material this June. Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, which includes their Lawnmower 4.0, my personal favorite, is the perfect bundle to tackle any and all old man hair from head to toe. This right here is no dad joke. Treat him and yourself and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code UTILITY20 at manscaped.com. Trust me, his dad bod will thank you. Again, this Performance Package 4.0 has the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Toner. They even throw in a free performance pair of boxer briefs and an awesome travel bag as well. Go to manscaped.com today and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code UTILITY20 at manscaped.com. That's right, 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Shake what your mama gave you? Nah, shake what your daddy gave you. Thank you again to Manscaped for sponsoring today's video, and now let's jump in to the actual vid. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports, and I'm so excited for this video. I honestly really am, because this is a video that I don't think a lot of people on YouTube really ever record or see, and I think it's a really fun video specifically for our super proactive NBA fans, the super big time fans that are super deep into the league knowledge and really have a good understanding of not only the NBA players that really make an impact right now, but potential NBA players that can make an impact down the road. We're going to talk about some former lottery draft picks in this video. We're going to talk about some former undrafted players in this video. We're going to talk about everything in between. And I think this video is a really fun one to record. And I'm inspired to record this because a few years ago, I had looked at Chris Boucher as a potential breakout after he won G League MVP. And of course, we know how his career's played out for the Raptors. He's been very impactful. And then also Christian Wood, when he signed with the Houston Rockets, I thought that was a massive and underrated signing for them. And you look at his numbers since signing with Houston, and I think they've backed up that claim as well. So I've been on it with some breakout players in the past. I've got 7 candidates in today's video that I think could break out in the next couple of seasons. Some of them, it might take a little bit longer because of opportunity, and I think some may be ready as of early as next season. So really excited. Again, if you are enjoying the content here at Utility Sports, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and also give me your ideas on potential breakout players in the comment section. And then also, I would love for you guys to comment some more video ideas. We've been really diversifying what we've been posting here on the channel, a ton of NBA content. So I hope you've been enjoying all the different content we've been posting. And now for this video preview, again, these are my breakout candidates that I expect over the next couple of seasons. And for me, breakout candidates doesn't mean players that are going to become stars or household names necessarily, but players for the less casual NBA fans that, you know, if you really know the league, if you're really in depth, these are players that are going to start sticking out to you. As of right now, I don't expect you guys to know all of these players. You'll definitely know some of them for sure, but probably not all of them. There's a lot of hidden gems, I think, that are kind of floating out there right now. So if you know all of them, that's a big credit to you as well. But let's go ahead and jump into breakout candidate number 1 here. And it's Trevin Queen from the Houston Rockets, a player who really has burst onto the scene the last couple of seasons, but not for Houston. He has burst onto the scene for the Rio Grande Vipers. And you might say, for what team? And that's the Rio Grande Vipers of the G League. And the G League, to me, is honestly one of the best development pathways in the entire world for any league. I think the G League is such a phenomenally ran league as a developmental path for the NBA. Not necessarily G League Ignite. I think that's a little bit different. But overall, basically acting as a minor league system, similar to what we see in Major League Baseball. The NBA G League has produced a ton of good players. And in fact, over half the NBA spends time in the G League right now. So there's a lot of good players coming in and out of the G League, and no player was as dominant as Trevin Queen this past year. And he played for the Rio Grande Vipers, like I said, and they won the G League championship, mainly in part to his performance. In the 19 games he played this year down with the Vipers, he averaged over 25 points a game, almost 7 rebounds a night, 5 assists a game, over 3 steals a game, which is an absolutely insane amount. A block a game as well, standing at 6'6", so it goes to show some of his athletic profile. 47.8% from the field, over 33% from three, 79.5% from the line essentially. Oh, and by the way, he averaged a plus 13.8 plus minus this season. That is unheard of. And right now, I know a lot of you are probably saying, oh, it's in the G League, it doesn't matter. Some really good players in the G League don't even average a +5 plus minus. Trevin Queen was flat out dominant. He actually did get brought up to the Houston Rockets this year. And in limited minutes, about 7 minutes a game in about 10 games, he was averaging actually 5 points a game in those 7 minutes. So we have seen some NBA production from him. And I think, honestly, Trevin Queen is someone who's going to stick around in the NBA for quite some time. It is very difficult to be as dominant as he was at any level. We've seen great NBA players not even be this dominant at the high school level. I really do believe that Trevin Queen is going to stick in the NBA. Now, I don't think he's going to be a star, but he's played himself into a long career. He has gotten so much better from where he was as a college prospect coming out a few years ago. And I think when you look at him now at this point of his career, he has solidified himself as someone who is going to probably earn upwards of $5 to $10 million throughout his NBA career. And 2 years ago, I would not have said that about him. And, $5 to $10 million does not sound like a huge number in comparison to some of the mega deals we see now where players sign for $250 million, but it's still $10 million. And he's going to earn that based on his play. I think he's going to break out. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up making upwards of $20 to maybe $25 million in his career, depending on how much of an opportunity he gets in the NBA. But I think Trevin Queen here for the Houston Rockets, if he sticks in Houston, I could see him still playing a role. But if he goes into free agency, a team finds him and brings him in, I think he could actually play a significant part in being maybe even a top 8 rotation member at some point for an NBA team. Then breakout candidate number 2 here, and the viewers are probably like, okay, well, I know this one for sure. Jalen Suggs, Orlando Magic point guard, or combo guard rather. He's former number 5 overall selection. I had him number 5 overall on my big board in 2021, and he suffered really bad from first-year guard syndrome. And every single guard usually does struggle from this. This is what makes the players like Cade Cunningham, Luka Doncic so special when they come in and they don't struggle for an entire season. Of course, we could also throw Jalen Green in there because toward the end of the year, he really picked up his play as well. Guards tend to struggle, specifically early and specifically when their main offensive skill set is finishing, because there's huge adjustment to the NBA when it comes to size and length, specifically around the rim with rim protection. And for me, Suggs is a player who was going to be prone to that. His best skill set is in transition. Offensively, he was a phenomenal transition player, and quite frankly, playing for the Orlando Magic, a 21-win team this past year, you're not going to have a ton of transition opportunities, but Orlando's got the top pick. They're going to add a little bit more talent to this roster. They're going to grow a little bit. Their first-year head coach is now going into his second year. He definitely learned some things. Jamal Mosley, I think, was a good hire for that Magic team, even though there was year one struggles. And ultimately, I think Suggs' play is going to elevate, and it's going to be a big reason why the Orlando Magic are better next season. Now, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they'll be a play-in team even, but I think Jalen Suggs will play much better in year 2 of his career. If you're holding on to Suggs stock still, I'm going to tell you right now, do not sell your Jalen Suggs stock. I think he's a very good young player, and I still think that there's going to be a lot of potential for him to tap into. He's always going to be a player, and this is part of my evaluation of him when he came out of the draft. He's always going to be a player who is better around good talent. He's like a Drew Holiday type in that regard, where maybe he's not your lead player. Maybe he's not even your number 2, but if he's your number 3, you're probably going to be a pretty good team. And I think, right now, Jalen Suggs, if he ends up progressing a bit like I expect him to, I think the game's going to slow down for him. I think he's going to get more consistent finishing around the rim, specifically after being around a little bit more size, length, speed, athleticism. He'll get used to the game. I think he'll settle in. We're talking about an all-world type of athlete here, someone who could have went anywhere he wanted in college to play quarterback, anywhere he wanted to play point guard. Now, ultimately for Orlando, I think he's going to really settle into a role that helps Orlando not only win games, but showcase what Suggs can really do with and without the basketball on both ends of the floor. Breakout candidate number 3, back to another draft prospect from the 2021 class, but this one went undrafted, and that's Devonte Smart out of LSU. And if anyone here is an LSU Tiger fan, you're going to be excited to see his name on the list because he was really good for the LSU Tigers his final year in college, playing next to Cam Thomas and Darius Days and the such there in LSU. And I think ultimately for Devonte Smart, he was a huge key component to that team that obviously made it to the round of 32, almost pulled off an 8-1 upset, couldn't quite get the job done. But Devonte Smart had a great final season with the Tigers where he shot very well from 3, and that did not stop specifically his scoring input playing for the Sioux Falls Skyforce, of course, the G League affiliate of the Miami Heat. He poured in 21 points a game this year, shot about 34% from 3, which isn't quite what you'd expect, but of course, translating to the NBA three-point line and a little bit more speed, athleticism as well. For a rookie player in the G League, that's a pretty good performance. And I think ultimately when you look at Miami's long-term picture here, Kyle Lowry, there's some serious question marks there. Gabe Vincent played pretty good this year, but once his contract's up and he's a little bit more expensive, is Miami going to look to keep him? You could have the same question about some of the other players on that roster like Max Strus as well. I think that down the road, Devonte Smart will not break out this year. I really do not believe that, but I think the year after this next year, so the 2023-2024 season, is when you're going to be wanting to watch for Devonte Smart. I think he could be a sneaky good player for the Miami Heat, where he kind of falls into that Gabe Vincent role. He's a phenomenal three-point shooter again, and he's actually a pretty physical, strong defender. Even though he's not the biggest guy in the world, he plays above his pay grade with his strength and his weight. So I think for me, Devonte Smart, he's going to be a player to watch for over the next few seasons. And ultimately, if he plays for the Skyforce again next year, I think that'll be good for his development more. And honestly, his progression and production in the G League was higher than I was expecting it to be. I did have him as a top 60 prospect, though, in the 2021 NBA draft class. I expected him to play into a role at some point in his NBA career. I just didn't think it maybe will come along as fast as it seemingly is at this point. Then breakout candidate number 4, another player I was very high on in the 2021 NBA draft class, James Bouknight. Don't worry, they're not all players who are rookies, but I think that these past 3 in Suggs, Smart, and now Bouknight have been really important to talk about. Bouknight, I'm really confident in. I think he's going to take a massive step forward. The biggest issue here was under Borrego. He just did not see a lot of minutes. Borrego did not play rookies a consistent amount. And the one thing there in Charlotte too, the lineups and the rotations were very deep. They have a ton of good players there, which I expect to change a little bit. I think Gordon Hayward could get traded. I think that PJ Washington could potentially be out. Of course, those are 2 more forward type players, but it just does open up a lot of minutes on this team. And maybe we see a little bit more small ball where we have a little bit more guard talent on the floor. And I think James Bouknight, someone who can really score the basketball with the best of them. You put him next to LaMelo Ball, and it's going to be scary hours for other teams. And I know I'm really projecting a lot here for Bouknight. I had him 7th on my big board in the 2021 NBA draft. I was surprised he fell as far as he did, but I still love the upside here. He can score on all 3 levels. If his three-point shooting becomes even more consistent, he'll be even better. He played about 30 games this past year for Charlotte, and he scored fairly decently in his limited minutes. I really think he's going to be primed for output, whether that's this next season or the year after. He's going to start making those sophomore jumps and that third-year jump that everyone expects, but I think he's going to make it at an even higher rate. I think it's going to be an exponential jump for him in terms of his output, specifically statistically, and I think a big reason why is going to be his minutes played. Now, it does come down to who they hire as their head coach. I am recording this before they have announced any hiring. Perhaps you're watching this after that, so maybe you'll have a better idea of who the new coach is there in Charlotte. But ultimately, for me, I think James Bouknight, a phenomenal breakout candidate to watch for over the next couple seasons. Again, do not sell your stock here on Bouknight. Moving into breakout candidate number 5, we have another 2021 NBA draft pick, Delano Banton, who is a little bit older actually. And I really trust the Toronto Raptors. Not only do I trust Nick Nurse, but I trust Masai Ujiri. I trust that entire franchise. I think the Raptors are honestly one of the best run franchises in all of basketball. I really firmly believe that. And Delano Banton was awesome this past year for the Raptors 905. G League team that's really known historically for developing good talent. They did it with Pascal Siakam, who I liked as well before a lot of other people were really onto that. I also really liked Chris Boucher, like I mentioned, in the Open. And the Raptors 905, they've been doing this for years. They continuously win NBA G League championships, which I know doesn't sound like a big deal, but I think it honestly is, because it helps develop your actual NBA team, specifically when you can fill in guys like Boucher, Siakam, Fred VanVleet, guys who go undrafted and throw them in there. And I think Delano Banton, he's a bigger player at about 6'7". A lot of people look at him as a wing. I almost look at him as a bigger guard. He's got serious on-ball skills. The question for him is, how does that shooting come along? Because he's a so-so shooter. In the G League, he was shooting 39% from three, but that was in only 7 games. You see the free throw percentage about 54%. He's not a good shooter, but he does a lot of other things well. He's lengthy, which we know is the Toronto Raptors' biggest thing they're looking for most of the time. They love to add that size and length that can get in the passing lanes and disrupt stuff, make it hard for opposing offenses. And he's also a pretty good ball handler and passer, which you would not expect from a player who's going 46th overall at 6'7". But I think he was a really underrated find for this franchise and for that front office. And ultimately, I would bet on him playing himself into a long NBA career. I really would. Again, I'm not saying this guy's going to become a star, but I think he's going to be a contributing factor for a good team down the road. And that's really what a breakout player to me is someone who rises onto the scene, plays meaningful minutes, and helps contribute to winning. And I think Delano Banton's going to do all of those things for a franchise. Breakout candidate number 6. We'll talk about a player who's already been doing that to certain extents, and that's Oshae Brissett from the Indiana Pacers. And outside of Indiana, I'm not sure a lot of people really know who this guy is. He's a nice young player, though. He's one of the Pacers fans' favorites on the entire roster. He's a good athlete. Again, this is a question about his shooting, similar to Delano Banton. He's not quite the on-ball player Banton's going to become, but he's a much better defensive player. He's really solid on that end of the floor. And I also think, looking at him a couple seasons ago, he shot about 39% from three and then kind of regressed back down to 31%. For me, if Brissett can shoot the ball with any consistency, he becomes a very intriguing 3-and-D candidate with an emphasis on the defensive side. Again, I think that's really where he's going to make his money in his career. Another player I can see making north of $20 to $30 million in his career, which is a very good career. Think about $20 to $30 million in your bank account, how happy you'd be. And I think Oshae Brissett's on his way to earning that. And I think becoming a little bit more notable. If the Pacers can make a few jumps forward, and that's really the thing with some of these guys, if they're on lesser watch teams that are not nationally televised as frequently, they tend to kind of get swept under the rug. People don't know about them to the level that they should. And I think Oshae Brissett, a player who always stuck out to me while watching the Pacers on NBA League Pass. And that's really one of the blessings I have with watching NBA League Pass as frequently as I do, is you get to see the guys like Oshae Brissett. You get to see Delano Banton in game 72 of the regular season. You get to watch all of these things. Oshae Brissett, the big thing to watch here is how long does he stick in Rick Carlisle's offense? Maybe if Indiana at pick 6 goes with a wing, it could deter Oshae Brissett's minutes a little bit. But ultimately, if it doesn't last in Indiana, I think he'll catch on somewhere else and still play some meaningful basketball. And then we get to my final breakout candidate, and that's breakout candidate number 7, who ironically wears the number 7 for the Los Angeles Clippers. And this is my favorite one to talk about. I'm so excited to talk about Amir Coffee at this spot, because he is such a different player than he was 4 years ago when he was playing for the Golden Gophers in the University of Minnesota. Someone who I evaluated very closely, knew a lot about. He's a 6'7" guard when he came out of college, and I was really excited about him. He went undrafted. I didn't quite understand why, but it's funny because he's completely changed the course of his career in a short time, specifically with his play for the Agua Caliente Clippers in the NBA G League over the last few seasons. And again, I know I'm talking about the G League a lot, and some of you maybe aren't as in tune with the G League as I am. But the G League, I think, is a really great grounds for development. I have to emphasize that again. And Amir Coffee really took advantage of that. The funny thing here is the knock on him coming out of college, he could not shoot the basketball worth a lick. He was a terrible three-point shooter, someone who honestly would have gotten left open had he played early in his rookie season. They would have sagged way off of him. and his career has completely changed. He has really refined that jump shot. The mechanics are completely different now at this point. Backspin is completely fixed on his release. Everything looks mechanically much smoother, and it has bred success. This past year shot about 38% from three on actually meaningful volume, including two 30-point performances in his final 5 games of the regular season. He was still getting some DNPs for the Clippers this past year, but when he was given opportunities from Ty Lue, he went out there and performed. He's actually really grown into a great shooter now at this point. And someone who, again, with that size, a former 6'7" guard who's now translated himself to a 6'7" wing who shoots the ball. You're looking at a player who's turned opportunity into success and has really improved his game over the last 4 seasons. I honestly do believe that he is, if not the most improved player in the entire NBA organization, the entire league itself, he's got to be up there. And I know he's not going to get the recognition he deserves, because you look at some of the other players like a Jordan Poole who's really gotten better. A lot of players have improved. The thing is, I think Amir Coffee was way behind everybody. And now I think, honestly, at this point, he's lived up to his potential and way past it. I honestly don't think anyone saw this coming from Amir Coffee to have played. He started 30 games this year. He's already started his breakout, but I think he's going to continue to emerge in that regard. He's someone who's a restricted free agent this offseason, and a lot of people don't really know who this guy is yet, despite starting 30 games in the absence of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. He made a name for himself. I think a lot of teams are going to show some interest in him in free agency. With him being restricted, he probably sticks in LA, which is a complicated situation because they have Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, they have their Terrence Mann. They've got a lot of really good players there. So again, him not getting consistent play time is not a detriment to him. It's a testament to how good the Clippers are organizationally. But for me, Amir Coffee, a player who, again, I think if he gets that opportunity, he's going to showcase his talent and how much better he's gotten since his time with the Gophers. Really happy to have had Amir Coffee on this list. And those are my 7 players. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. Again, this is not a video for the casual fan. This is a video where you talk really in depth about players who most people don't really know about. And if you knew all 7 of those players, that's a huge testament to you. Obviously, the Book Knights and Jalen Suggs are way easier to know. But, you know, getting into the Amir Coffees of the world and the Devonte Smarts, those are the unknown players. But there's a lot of talent in this league, even players who are playing in the G League right now. And honestly, I'm just really excited to have basketball at my disposal, whether that's G League, college, high school, which I'm a coach for, or even just, of course, the NBA as well. I just love basketball. If you guys are still watching, comment breakout seasons in the comment section. That lets me know that you made it all the way to this point of the video. And then also hit the like button and subscribe for more NBA content, whether it's content like this, the NBA draft content, or anything else we post on the channel. I would love for you guys to be tuning in and giving me your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks again so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.